Let's talk about quiche. Quiche is the subject of my video and is part of a collaboration named Quick and Easy Meals, hosted by Anna of the Grace Life DIY Home Decor. Every Sunday evening, um, Anna posts the latest quick and easy meals on her community page. Worthwhile to look at. All sorts of different amazing dishes. So this particular recipe is part of that. I used to make quiches all the time when I was younger, like 40 years ago, but I just kind of got away from it. And when I went to Montana last year to visit my friend, I was making quiches almost every day. Breakfast quiches, dinner quiches, they were delicious, so I thought I'd continue at home. So this particular recipe is really good, but I'd like to, in retrospect, since it's been several months and I've done other quiches, I would like to adjust the ingredients that I mention in the seasonings that I mention in this video, and I will mention them again in the course of the video where it's appropriate. With that in mind, let's get started with this recipe, and then at the end I'm going to have some more thoughts about quiches. I'm going to get some of my prep work done ahead of time this evening. So I'm going to start by washing and peeling 4 small potatoes and then putting them into the steamer and getting them nice and steamed. Here they are, all cut up in fairly small pieces. I'm going to put them on the steamer right now. While that's going, I'm going to cut up about a half of this onion, dice it, and start sauteing it. And then I'm going to cut up the mushrooms and add those to the onions. And here we are. Upon reflection, I used about 1/3 of the onion, chopped it up, and I used the whole package of mushrooms and sliced them into three or 4 times slices, depending on the size. I'm going to go ahead and start my skillet, my cast iron frying pan, and start with the onions. So here's the olive oil warming up. In a minute, I'm going to throw those onions in there. All right, here we go. I always test the oil by putting some water in, and if it starts popping, it's ready. I'm just going to saute that for a little bit, about a minute or so, and I'll put in the mushrooms. These are starting to soften, so I'm going to put in the mushrooms. Here we go. Just going to let those cook down together with the onions. Okay, these are pretty close to done. I'm going to take them out and put them in a container, and when the potatoes are done, I'm going to put the potatoes in the container too, put it in the fridge, and finish this quiche up a little bit later. Potatoes are done, nice and soft. Added them to the container with the mushrooms. I'm going to let these cool for a few minutes, put them in the refrigerator, and pull them out when we finish up this quiche. All right, we're going to get started with the filling. 3/4 cup of milk and 6 eggs right here. I'm going to crack them all into the milk, and we're going to mix that up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Let's get rid of this. And you beat that till all the eggs are broken up and mixed in well with the milk. This is going to be, of course, the base of our quiche, which will pour over our mushrooms and our onions and our potatoes. There. The recipe also calls for grated cheese, 1.5 cups, and I happen to have this Mexican blend in the refrigerator, so that's what I'm going to use. You can use any sort of cheese you want. Here's my crust. I make my own, but don't feel you have to. It's a heck of a lot easier if you buy the crust. I'm going to do the filling right now. I'm going to start with the with the potatoes and the mushrooms, then the cheese, and then the eggs, and then some more cheese on top. So let's get started. I've preheated the oven to 425, and I'm going to put it in at 425, and after 20 minutes I'm going to lower it to 375. Let's put our vegetables in first. There we go. I'm going to just kind of mix them up so they're evenly distributed. Now I'm going to take about 1 cup of the cheese, leaving the half cup behind for the top. There we go. And I'm going to take some rosemary or any other type of herb you want in there and just sprinkle it on top. I'm going to interrupt the video at this point with several more months of quiche making under my belt. For this particular quiche, and again, seasonings, it really depends what you are making, but for this particular one, I like kind of a woody, deeper flavor. So I would definitely put in more rosemary than I originally recommended, maybe a tablespoon. You can also add some thyme or marjoram. It is all good, and the more the better. What I've started doing in all of my quiches, no matter what the flavor is, I'm putting in nutmeg. It just gives it such a warm, delicious flavor, no matter what else is going on in there. 2 to 3 teaspoons, depending on the strength of your nutmeg. It's not going to hurt, and it's only going to help. So that's my 2 cents worth for making these quiches extra special. This is from my garden. I dried it. There we go. Just I think I took 2 pinches and just put it on top. All right. Now we're going to pour the egg mixture in on top of everything. And there's the cat. Got in the house, even though he's not supposed to be. To be dealt with momentarily. All right, and with the remainder of the cheese, you just sprinkle that on top. There you go. And we're ready to bake. I'm going to fold down my crust here a little bit and put it in the oven. I see there's a breach in the crust, so we might have some overflow. That has happened before, nothing terrible happened. One nice thing about pre-made crusts is that they usually hold on. And other people's crusts usually hold on. Mine somehow break open at times. Probably because it wasn't rolled in sufficiently in a circle. So some areas are a little lower than others. So here we are. Here it is out of the oven. It smells wonderful. There's just that hint of rosemary to bring it really to the next level. It was in the oven for about 1 hour and 15 minutes, and I checked for it to be done by not only the color of the topping, nicely browned, but also by putting a knife in the middle, and it came out clean. I'm going to let this cool for a while, then we'll give it a try. Well, I took a little bite of this, and it's absolutely delicious. It's also beautiful. So easy to make, too. So the quiche I demonstrated was in a big Dutch oven, and it was a big quiche. What I do with the quiches when I'm done is I'll eat 1 or 2 fresh, and then I just cut them up into like quarters or whatever size you want, and I wrap them separately and put them in the freezer, and when I feel like having one, I just pop it in the oven frozen, and it defrosts and warms up, and it's just delicious. I think you can probably do this in the microwave also, but it might make the crust a little bit damp or wet or whatever. It seems like when I put it in the oven, it's just perfect. I have made quiche with everything. Leftover vegetables. I recently did a video on roasted butternut squash with potatoes. I had some leftover, made a quiche. I had some leftover salmon, made a quiche. Added some potatoes to that and added some more dill or whatever I'd put on the fish and made a quiche out of it. It was delicious. Sometimes instead of making big quiches, I'll make 2 small quiches like I did with the vegetable and the salmon. I made those 2 quiches at the same time, and I had enough for 2 small quiches insofar as fillings. So I used a 7-inch skillet and probably 2 eggs and 1 cup of milk plus cheese. And the amount of milk and the amount of cheese and the amount of eggs is also going to depend on how much filling you put in. Since I put in potatoes, it fills it up pretty well, so I don't need as many eggs or as much milk. But that's a personal decision. I do like to add the potatoes and the vegetables because then it becomes a full meal. Also, it really doesn't matter what cheese you use. If you use like a cheddar cheese, it's going to give it that sort of goldenrod color that we're used to seeing. But I've used mozzarella or Monterey Jack, and the cheese does brown. It looks beautiful. It's just that it's not going to have that yellow color that the cheddar cheese imparts to it, but that's fine. As I say, I found quiches to be just a wonderful, cheap meal. I can make a full one. Like I made this one a few days ago. I had some potatoes from the freezer. I had some peppers from the freezer. I had some onions that were in the freezer. Everything went in here, and it was two meals, 2 days, each one half. So it was really great. It's a good way to, as I said, if you have leftovers, you just throw them in the quiche. It's very, even though quiche sounds like it's kind of highfalutin, it's actually a really great way to just take care of leftovers. I've made them in the past with shrimp. I've made them in the past with bacon, all sorts of vegetables. I've made them with zucchini, all sorts of stuff, tomatoes, just whatever you have, throw it in there. The only thing I recommend is if you do a hard vegetable like butternut squash or potatoes, something like that, you do need to cook them ahead of time. Things like tomatoes, things like zucchini, stuff like that does not need to be cooked ahead of time. So that's just the judgment call you'll have to make. It will cook a little bit in the quiche, but not enough to cook it through. So those need to be prepared ahead of time. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. And again, Quick and Easy Meals comes out every Sunday evening. Anna has all the new Quick and Easy Meals on her community page. Happy cooking.